They didn't stab me in the back. No, they gutted me, smiling, and left me there, bleeding, breathing, but barely alive. I remember it. Every sound, every silence. The way they looked at me, like I was something disposable. Like I was a burden they had finally gotten rid of. They didn't just walk away. They danced on the ashes and clapped when I crumbled. That kind of pain, it doesn't scream, it hums, low, constant, unforgiving, like a wound that never scabs, like glass buried in the skin, quiet until it rips deeper. You think you'll be ready when it comes. You think betrayal wears a mask, but it doesn't. It smiles. It calls you brother. It kisses your forehead and says, "Trust me." Then it hands you the knife and watches as you carve your own heart out. I was loyal. God, I was loyal to the wrong people, to illusions, to liars, to cowards dressed as kings. They didn't just break me, they unmade me piece by piece, until I couldn't recognize the reflection staring back. Who was that? That hollow-eyed ghost clinging to memories? That soft voice still hoping for an apology? That would never come. I begged for answers in rooms that had already decided I was the villain. I cried in languages no one wanted to hear, and every time I tried to speak, they twisted my words into weapons. I wasn't heard. I was handled like a problem, like a ticking bomb too inconvenient to defuse, so they ran and left me to explode alone. The worst part? They didn't even turn around. They moved on, fast, effortless, like I never mattered, like I was just a phase, a lesson, a mistake. And I started to believe it, started to shrink into the shadows they left behind, started to think maybe I deserved it, that maybe I was too much, too intense, too real, too me. But silence teaches you things noise never will. And I learned that people don't love you. They love what you give. And the moment you have nothing left, they disappear. They don't leave because you failed. They leave because you refuse to break faster, like a glass statue dropped from heaven. I shattered slowly, elegantly, so it made them uncomfortable to watch. I saw it in their eyes, the guilt they refused to name, the discomfort of watching someone burn without turning to ash. They hated that I was still standing, even when I had nothing left, especially when I had nothing left. You want to know what abandonment feels like? It feels like screaming underwater, like clawing at the surface, while everyone else is sunbathing. It feels like being erased in slow motion. It feels like the silence after they cheered your fall. I used to think pain made you weak. Now I know, pain is the sculptor, and I was its favorite canvas. Every cut, a stroke of definition. Every scar, a signature of survival. But back then, I didn't feel powerful. I felt invisible, like a ghost watching the living forget. I watched the world move on. I watched them thrive, the very people who poisoned me, as if karma took a day off, and I stayed quiet. For too long, because I was raised to believe silence was strength. That endurance meant virtue. But silence is just pain with a muzzle. And I got tired of being muzzled. Something inside me began to shift. Not loudly, not violently, just undeniably. Like the first crack in frozen glass. Like the breath before a scream. I began to feel it. That flicker, that fury, that spark. The kind of rage born from love too long ignored. From loyalty too long betrayed. From hope too long denied. And for the first time, I didn't want peace. I wanted clarity. To see them exactly as they were, and to see myself not as broken one, but as becoming. They thought they left me behind, but they didn't leave me. They revealed me. This is where the story really begins, not in the fall, but in the silence after it, where something ancient wakes, where sorrow becomes steel. They tore me open, but they should have made sure I stayed down because I bled. I broke, but I never begged, and now I remember everything. Let that haunt them. No screams, no fire. Just silence. That's how madness begins. When the soul shuts its eyes and pretends not to exist. I didn't break. I dissolved piece by piece, thought by thought, memory by memory. They didn't need chains. They just needed to forget me. And I did the rest. You think pain is loud, that it howls, screeches, shatters glass. But real pain, it whispers. And then it disappears behind your eyes. I walked rooms like a ghost, sat in crowds like a statue, alive technically, but not really, not where it mattered. Every breath felt like a funeral for who I used to be. A silent procession, no tears, no flowers, just the quiet echo of everything I lost. I remember the moment I stopped speaking, not out loud, in here, in me. The voice that once screamed fight started whispering, why bother? The mirror stopped reflecting. Or maybe I stopped looking, because whatever stared back wasn't someone worth saving. I was the shell they left behind, the empty thing you step over, a name people forget on purpose, a story that made them uncomfortable, and somewhere in that black fog, I found peace, a dangerous peace, a seductive kind of stillness, no hope, no need, no feeling. I let the world pass, didn't chase it, didn't beg, just floated. Like a moth trapped in a jar, wings bruised against the glass, not realizing it had stopped trying to escape. Do you know what that does to a mind? When time keeps moving, but your heartbeat feels optional, reality starts to bend. Voices that aren't yours speak, and for once, they make more sense than your own. I started talking to shadows, to silence, to the thing inside me that wouldn't shut up, the one that watched me die and smiled. It didn't pity me, it didn't weep. It whispered things like, they don't care. They never cared. Stop waiting for the rescue. You are the storm, not the victim. At first I resisted, clung to what little light was left. But light is a liar. Darkness is honest. It doesn't promise. It doesn't pretend. It just is. And the more I listened, the more I realized. That voice wasn't a stranger. It was me. The real me. The one I buried beneath politeness, kindness, weakness. That voice had teeth. It didn't want love. It wanted revenge. Not against them. Against the version of me that begged for scraps, the one that kneeled, that cried, that hoped. Hope is the cruelest drug of all. It makes you wait for change, when you were meant to be the change, the violent, unforgiving, relentless kind. So I stopped hoping, stopped wishing, and started remembering every betrayal, every smirk, every closed door and cold shoulder. I folded them up, pressed them into my skin, carved them where I couldn't forget, not out of grief, out of blueprint. Madness didn't destroy me, it rebuilt me quietly, alone, precisely. I didn't scream. I shed. I let go of the old skin, the obedient skin, the scared skin, and beneath it something darker, something cleaner, unapologetic, unafraid, unforgiving. I didn't survive. I changed. They'll never understand that. They think silence is surrender. They don't know. It's metamorphosis. And now I don't need to scream, because when I rise again, the silence will speak for me. He smiled at me. Same eyes, same scars, but no mercy left. I didn't kill the pain. I became it. For the longest time, I begged for it to stop. The voices, the silence, the shaking hands and sleepless nights. I prayed for peace, but peace never came. Instead, he did. The thing in the mirror, the thing with my face, but not my fear. He didn't flinch, didn't cower, didn't beg for mercy from a world that knew none. He looked back at me with stillness, with truth. And in that moment, I knew he was me. And he was finally awake. I used to be ashamed of him, that darker part. The one that thought about burning bridges instead of building them. The one that kept count, that smiled through pain, but never forgot the blade that caused it. They told me to bury him, to hide the anger, swallow the scream, be better, be quiet. But what did being better ever get me? A lifetime of apologies I didn't owe. A graveyard of chances I never got. Hands that held me down, while smiling like they saved me. No, not anymore. I stood there staring at the mirror, and for the first time, I didn't look away because he wasn't the enemy. He was the only one who never left. He remembered every name, every shove, every door slammed in my face. He remembered. And he endured, that monster in the mirror. He watched while I cried into empty rooms. He waited while they laughed at my silence. He listened while they called me weak. And now, he speaks. You're still here, he said. Still breathing, still bleeding. But you get to choose what happens next. I didn't ask for this war, but I sure as hell won't run from it. They tried to drown me in doubt, but I learned to breathe underwater. They tried to chain me with shame, but I made the rusted links into armor. They tried to break me, and maybe they did. But even broken glass cuts deep. Even shattered steel still kills. The monster. He showed me the weapon hidden in my ribs, the fury buried beneath the hurt, the blade buried inside my broken bones, and I gripped it tight, because I'm done waiting for justice that never comes. I am the justice now. No more silence. No more smiling to make them comfortable. No more playing dead to avoid their fear. Let them fear me. Let them whisper. Let them run, because the thing they tried to bury is walking again. Not as a ghost, not as a man desperate to be loved, but as a storm, as reckoning, as every scar come to life. I didn't lose myself. I found him. And now that we've met, there's no going back. So when you see me smile, know this. It's not kindness. It's not peace. It's power, sharpened by pain. It's rage, dressed in calm. It's a monster who remembers. And he remembers everything. They thought I was gone. They thought the silence meant I had finally broken, that the wreckage they left behind would never rise. But silence isn't surrender. It's preparation. And wreckage, that's just the raw material for a new kind of monster. They thought they buried me. But I wasn't buried. I was planted. And now, I bloom in vengeance. Do you understand what that means? I didn't crawl out of the darkness begging for light. I became the darkness. I drank the cold. I chewed on the pain. I wrapped it around my bones until it fused into armor. And now, the same agony that once made me shake makes me unshakable. They thought the fire would consume me, but I was the fire. They just didn't know it yet. Every tear they carved from my eyes watered the roots, roots that burrowed deeper, through silence, through isolation, through betrayal, until something else grew beneath their feet. Something ancient, something dangerous, something inevitable. I don't hide my scars anymore. I sharpen them. I don't mourn what was taken. I weaponize it, because this version of me, the one standing in the ash, he didn't survive. He was reborn, and rebirth isn't beautiful. It's bloody, it's savage. It's the violent ripping of old skin and the slow, agonizing growth of something harder, something colder, something untouchable. I died. Yes, but not in the way they hoped. I died to fear, I died to weakness, I died to needing their approval. And from that grave crawled something they'll never recognize. You want to know who I am now? I am every no they ever spat in my face, every laugh they threw over my dreams, every hand they refused to hold out when I was drowning. I collected them, stored them, fed on them like firewood, and now the blaze is unstoppable. Ashes don't scare me. I was born in them, you hear me? Born, not beaten, not broken, born. You can't defeat someone who's already died. You can't shame someone who's already stood naked in their own ruin. You can't bury someone who has roots in the underworld. I have no fear left to taste, no doubt left to drown in. No part of me still asks for their acceptance. Let them flinch when they see me. Let them wonder what they created, because this isn't the return of the person they knew. This is the rise of the one they never saw coming. My soul? It's carved from wildfire. My will? Sharpened on stone. And my heart? My heart no longer beats for mercy. I've shed the fragile, shattered the version of me that once hoped, killed the version that begged to be understood. And what remains is something darker, something freer, something divine in its fury. They wanted me buried, but I dug deeper, past rock, past bone, past memory. And I found myself down there in the black, in the silence. I found something stronger than forgiveness, stronger than healing. I found vengeance, not the petty kind, not fire and chaos and blind rage, but vengeance in its purest form, focused, cold, evolved. They made me this way. They crafted their own reckoning. Every cruelty, every absence, every blade behind my back, it built me. So when I say I'm not the same, believe it, I will never be that fragile again. Never. Let them remember the silence they mistook for surrender, because now I speak, and every word is a war drum, every breath is a declaration, and every step I take shakes the ground they thought would hold me down. I wasn't buried, I was planted, and now I rise. I rise. I rise, and I bloom in vengeance. They thought it was over. They thought silence meant surrender, that the absence of noise was the absence of life. But I was never gone. I was watching, quietly, patiently. While they laughed, I listened. While they mocked, I remembered. While they slept, I studied every move they made. They celebrated my disappearance like it was a funeral. But they were wrong. It wasn't a burial, it was incubation. I didn't disappear, I descended into something colder, sharper, hungrier. They mistook stillness for weakness, but even vipers lie motionless before they strike. You see, I never needed to scream. I just needed them to forget I was breathing, and they did. God, they did. They showed their true faces, lowered their guards, grew careless in their comfort, arrogant in their victory, and I was taking notes. Every lie they told, every secret they whispered behind my back, every grin they wore while slicing open my name. I counted them, I indexed them, I turned their cruelty into data. My vengeance didn't need rage, it just needed time. They fed on my silence, but I was feasting too. On patterns, on motives, on blind spots they forgot. I learned how they move, how they hide, how they strike, and I learned how to tear it all apart, quietly, perfectly, surgically. This wasn't revenge, this was evolution. In silence, I became something else, something beyond emotion, beyond pain, beyond their reach. They thought they wounded me, but they educated me. They thought I was licking my wounds in the dark. But I was building a kingdom, brick by brick. Out of every stone they threw at me, a kingdom without pity, without apology, without chains. A place where the broken wear their scars like armor, where silence isn't fear. It's focus, it's fire, it's final. I didn't just survive, I engineered my rebirth. They handed me destruction, and I turned it into design, blueprints of a better beast, sharper, colder, unforgiving, like a wolf dressed in sheep's decay. And now I walk among them. Same face, same smile, but everything behind it has changed. They won't see me coming, because they think I'm still down there, still weak, still waiting. They don't realize I was never waiting, I was calculating. And when I return, it won't be loud, it won't be chaotic. It will be precise, like clockwork, like poetry, like divine retribution dressed in human skin. So let them laugh, let them sleep, let them believe they're safe, because what's coming for them isn't a scream. It's a whisper they'll never hear in time. And when the shadow finally steps into the light, they'll recognize me, not by my face, not by my voice, but by the cold surgical silence. That always comes right before the fall. You want to know who I became? You really want to know? You don't get to ask that now. Not after what you did, not after what you let happen, but I'll tell you anyway. Because the answer, it burns through my bones, and you deserve to feel the fire. I became everything you feared I would, and more. You thought I'd break, thought I'd fold, crawl back, beg. You thought I'd vanish quietly, like a ghost ashamed of its own shadow. But I didn't disappear. I evolved, I transformed. You see scars, I see blueprints, you see damage. I see design. The very pain you handed me, I turned it into armor. Your lies, threaded into my cloak. Your betrayal, sharpened into blades. I turned your knives into my crown. So who did I become? Not the weakling you left behind. Not the broken soul you laughed at. Not your puppet, your pawn, your footnote. I became the storm. I became the silence before the scream. I became the retribution you swore would never come. You called me a monster, so I taught myself how to bite. You called me unstable, so I tore down everything that made me sane and rebuilt it into something unshakable. Don't mistake my calm for mercy. Don't mistake my silence for surrender. I didn't get quieter because I was afraid. I got quieter because I was listening. Studying, planning, you didn't just awaken the darkness in me, you gave it a purpose. And now it walks on two legs, with my face, with my voice, with my wrath. So don't come crawling with apologies. Don't come sobbing with regrets. Don't pretend you didn't know exactly what you were doing, because I remember every word, every smirk. Every time you said, they'll never make it. Every time you said, they're too much. Every time you laughed at my breaking, and now I laugh back, not because it's funny, but because you were right. I was too much for you, too much for your little box, too much for your shallow world. But guess what? Now I'm too much to stop, too much to kill, too much to ignore. You wanted a villain, you made one, but not the kind that screams and burns and destroys blindly. No, I'm the kind that watches, waits, strikes once, and ends it forever. I am not your friend, not your child, not your second chance. I am not your redemption arc. I am the one you write stories about and leave the last page blank because you're too afraid to finish it. Who did I become? I became the consequence. I became the answer to every time someone asked, what happens when the quiet one stops being quiet? I became the ghost you created and the God you'll never forget. And now when you look in the mirror and wonder why the world feels colder, why the air feels heavier, that's me. That's what I became. So don't ask again. You couldn't understand it then, and you won't survive the explanation now. This isn't payback. Payback is petty. Petty is for people who still care. Petty is for the ones who want apologies, forgiveness, closure. I didn't come back for closure. I didn't claw my way through hell just to settle a score. I didn't rise from the ashes to write some neat little ending. No, I came back to end the chapter, to make sure it never gets written again, to bury what they built and salt the earth where it stood. You thought this was about revenge. You thought I wanted what was taken. You thought I came to scream, cry, beg for a reason, but I found something better than reason. I found transformation. You see, pain didn't just shape me, it birthed me. It didn't weaken me, it refined me. Every scar is scripture now, every wound a symbol, every betrayal an ingredient in the alchemy that made this version of me. You thought I'd come back the same, a little bruised, a little bitter, still human, but this isn't human anymore. This is metamorphosis. This is fire given form. This is vengeance that evolved into something divine. I am no longer the shadow crawling toward justice. I am the storm that makes justice run. You gave me darkness, so I became the night. You gave me silence, so I learned to speak in thunder. You gave me death, so I taught myself how to live without needing life. And now you look at me with eyes full of questions, full of fear. You whisper, what did you become? Let me answer you. I became the echo of every scream you ignored. I became the weight of every sin you laughed away. I became the final truth, the one you cannot run from, the one you cannot unmake, the one who never needed your approval, only your silence. Because I learned something in the silence. I learned that monsters are not born. They are chosen, summoned, crafted from the cold hands of betrayal and the deafening roar of abandonment. I did not seek revenge. I transcended it. Revenge is a fire that dies. But I became the flame that never stops burning. You thought you'd see a face. You thought you'd see the same eyes, the same soul. But look again, there's no face here, only a mask forged in agony. There's no soul here, only a god wrapped in scars. So no, this isn't payback. This isn't petty. This is the end of the beginning. This is what happens when the forgotten stop bleeding and start becoming. This is what it looks like. When silence learns to speak. When pain learns to roar, when a ghost decides it's done hiding, I didn't return to hurt you. That would have been too kind. I returned to unwrite you, to make sure the world forgets you ever mattered, to make sure your name becomes nothing but a warning. Do not betray the quiet ones. Do not bury the broken. Do not laugh at the fallen, unless you're ready to face what rises, because what rose wasn't me. It was everything you were afraid I'd become, and now I walk without fear, without mercy, without chains. This isn't revenge, this is evolution, this is vengeance, in its final perfected form, metamorphic, eternal, untouchable. Let that echo, let that haunt you. I didn't survive to prove a point. I survived to become one. Let them watch. Let them stand in the ruins they made and watch. Let them whisper my name like a curse. Let them flinch when the shadows shift. Let them wish they'd killed me when they had the chance. Because I didn't come back for revenge. I came back as the consequence. I am not here to burn what they built. I am the fire they forgot to fear. No screams, no smoke, just silence. The kind that crushes the lungs before a single word escapes. They wanted a villain. So I wore the title like a crown. They called me a curse. So I became a storm. I don't want their apologies. I want their insomnia. I want my name to echo in their quiet moments. That creeping thought they try to drown. The one that says, what if they're not gone? I was gone, buried, forgotten. But I learned to breathe under dirt, to see in pitch black, to grow in places no light ever dared touch. And now, I rise, not loud, not violent, just undeniable. I don't chase justice. I became something worse. The proof they were wrong. The proof they couldn't kill everything. I became the nightmare they gifted me. Not to haunt them, but to remind them what happens when you leave something wounded and walk away smiling. They called it over. I called it becoming. So let them talk. Let them lie. Let them twist the story. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to be understood. I'm not here to be forgiven. I'm here to exist. Louder than their comfort, sharper than their memory, and colder than the silence they left me in. You see, they thought survival was enough, but I didn't survive. I transformed. They gave me pain. I turned it into power. They gave me silence. I turned it into strategy. They gave me scars. I turned them into scripture. So let them look. Let them stare into the ashes. Let them ask themselves the only question that matters now. Who the hell did we make? And let the answer be everything they feared, and more. No applause, no curtain call. Just me, risen, unforgiven, unmatched. And as for you, yes, you, the one watching this with fire under your ribs and a name you're still too afraid to speak? Good. Keep that fire. Let it consume the version of you they said could never rise. Let them regret you. Let them rewrite your story, because they can't face what they created. And when they ask if you're coming back, don't answer. Just arrive. Unapologetically, unkillable, unrecognizable. Let them watch you rise and drown in their regret.